the resilience and innovative service managers. So this is not just about IT support, it's more of as innovation officer, a chief resilience officer, a chief innovations officer. That is the new version of an IT service manager in this age and time. And with that, that responsibility to stay current, to stay relevant, and to fully align with global best practices is something of utmost importance to each and every one of us that say and will call ourselves IT what service manager. And that's why this conversation is so important. And we're going to be exploring not just the frameworks, but also how to see on the eye level how to look at the ways of the practicability of this framework to ensure what our various organizations remain compliant, remain efficient, and audit ready in this fast changing digital era. I thank you once again for being here, and it's a pleasure to be the organizer and also the chief host of this very engaging and exciting webinar. My name is Muyiwa Lubaju, and I work with Certified GRC, and we're partnering with Training Heights for this great empowerment initiative. All right. Thank you very much. Once again, a quick icebreaker. In one word, guys, in one word, describe your current IT service management environment. In one word, describe your current IT service management environment. Just use the chat box, please. Your chat box. Just type your location where you're joining us from, and in one sentence, let us know what your current IT service management environment looks like. All right, please mute your mic if you're just joining in so that we do not disrupt. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to the chat. All right, awesome. Thank you very much from Germany. Madness. I wonder why. Thank you very much. All right, who else? All right, I need to get about 20 to 25 from Belfast, mature, but certainly room for improvement, for growth. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, Germany once again. All right, so you've adopted your version 3 and version 4 and also ISO 20000. Awesome, awesome. And of course, I'm sure you're here to see what version 5 has to offer. Awesome. Complex from Switzerland. Awesome. Complex, yes. It's the innovation comes with vulnerabilities, comes with a lot of complexity, and it's your job as an IT service manager to be current and to currently stay on top of it. From Michigan, complex, yes. Complex is the word. All right, AI, yes. That's the big elephant in the room, artificial intelligence. Every platform as of today now has some form of AI functionality. It's AI powered, and you also have to keep that into keen consideration. And that's why a lot of the frameworks that we have as of today, including ITIL, has also been able to accommodate artificial intelligence into their framework. From Ukraine, from India, you're an ITIL expert. Awesome. Maybe you should take this class. Maybe you should take this session. All right. Thank you very much. All the way from India. From Ghana, evolving. Yes. Ghana, evolving. Awesome. And from Canada, maturing with evolving processes. I like that word, evolving processes, because you need to be able to monitor your maturity. The service ISO 20000, I will consider that as minimum requirement is in your ability to inculcate best practices such as ITIL. That's how you're going to measure your maturity as an organization. How you measure your maturity as an organization. All right. Any other person? Go ahead. Anyone? 2, 3 more. I didn't hear anyone from Singapore, from Spain, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Africa, France, Ethiopia. everyone, if you're here and your country has not been represented, it's important that you do so. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. And one more question before I hand over to my distinguished facilitator here. One more. What is that one challenge? That's one challenge as an IT service manager that you face currently within your organization? What is that one challenge as a service manager or as an IT service manager that you face? Yes, AI governance, governance of AI. Very important. It's very important because how are you able to ensure that this innovation, the third-party AI generative tools that are being utilized within your environment, how are you sure you're able to what? To control, to measure, and to ensure that these generative tools, these third-party AI platforms are what are ethically what utilized, are ethically utilized, and that's where AI governance comes in, part from isolated process to value stream. Thank you very much, Tomas. Thank you for that. Top-down decision, very important. Management commitment is very important in everything, especially when it comes to technology. Management what commitment in terms of compliance and what best practice. It is very important that you get what management commitment, and that is usually the biggest headache. It's usually some people want the top, bottom, top, but ideally, what the drive should come from what? From the top management. Thank you very much, Deku, for that. Thank you. Access AI for business value. Yes, that's why we mentioned with the innovation. Everyone wants to get things done fast. Repetitive tasks needs to be what? We need to be automated using the likes of the AI to save time to value, quality, and the likes, so that you can focus more on human-related tasks. But you also have to be mindful of the information that is being divulged to the various AI platforms. The exposure to artificial intelligence also needs to be weighed vis-a-vis the advantages and the merits that this platform gives to the business. So thank you very much, Rusty. Thank you for that. Broader coverage across TPRM, including AI and agentic AI embedded in existing solutions. Thank you very much for that. Driving consistent processes, adoption and standardization across a still maturing ITSM environment. Yes, adoption is very, very, very important, and that's always usually very difficult, if not properly strategized. A lot of people do compliance from the box ticking point of view. I have this tick, but there's something also called culture compliant. How is it truly adopted and adapted? How is it measured? Those are very important equally important conversation that needs to be had. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for this. It shows that you're all gingered up and you're ready for this session. So without taking too much time, I would be introducing our facilitator for today. And he is no other than Mr. Olumide Akano. He is a seasoned global ITSM manager with over 14 years of experience in IT service management. He's worked with financial institutions across Africa, North America, Europe, and the Middle East, driving modernization and operational excellence. Olu is passionate about building a resilient digital service and strengthening governance. He is also a published writer, sharing insights on IT service management and digital transformation. It is my pleasure to introduce you, sir, to our very important webinar. Thank you very much for obliging us. I will look forward to learning a lot from you. All right. I will stop sharing my screen so that I can give you the permission to go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna share my video. Excuse me. Sorry, last week I just got through an episode of sorry, let me adjust my camera here. Oh, what's going on? Can't see myself. Oh, sorry, I think my camera was closed. Yeah, there you go. All right, sorry. Yeah, I was saying that I went through an episode of flu, and I just got about that. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Muiwa, for organizing this. Thank you, Certified GRC, for this. I really want to appreciate everyone as well for showing up today. And I know in our different right, we all are experts. We are all experienced people. Either you are an IT service manager or probably you are into audit. I just want to say welcome. And from wherever you are connected from, really appreciate your being here today. And once again, thank you for the organizer today. And we are going to be doing this together, because given we all have experience across different industry, across many years, okay? So feel free to chime in whenever you want to. The chat box is there for you to express your opinion, and we get to do this together. So once again, my name is Olumide. It's some people get try to they struggle with it sometimes. So, but it's okay if you can shorten it to just the first three letter, which is Olu. That's fine. Or some people just go with the with Lumi, which is equally okay with me. It's a beautiful name, so I try to just spell everything as is. All right. So once again, you are all welcome, and I know we are relatively, I don't know, pressed for time. We want to do this as much as quickly as possible without necessarily rushing through it, but at the same time, ensuring that you get the best out of this and the best value out of this. Okay. All right, so I would be sharing my screen, and I've got two of them, so I have to look for the one to share now. Where's my screen now? Okay, all right, there you go. Okay, it's going to share. All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Oh, awesome. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so Muiwa has done a very fantastic job with the intro. And we just want to go through this together. As you know, you all know that ITIL, thanks for those thumbs up. ITIL version 5 is still very much new, and quite a number of us are still trying to, familiarize ourselves with it. Some of us have not even gone through the entire publication yet, at least for the foundation material, and we've done our best to glean from it to see what exactly this is about. I know if you do a very quick search in your whatever AI chat you are familiar with, it would give you something, right? And spoiler alert is that it's very much similar to ITIL version 4 or ITIL 4 as some people would prefer it. But since ITIL initially they were asking us to remove the V from the from version 4, but then later on they came up with ITIL version 5 and the V is there. So it looks like we're at liberty to use the V anyway. So ITIL version 4, ITIL version 5 is quite similar to ITIL version 4. And we'll be going through the some of the nuances here and there, and then at the end of the day, we want to be able to, kind of like marry the version 5. We just came out to ISO 20,000. All right. So we're going to stay as much high level as we can. We can't go through every detail here. All right. Given the time we have, and also given your experience, is just to kind of like elicit some kind of to trigger something in your mind, and also ideas on what you can do from your within your space and your experience. All right, so we want to quickly go through it. So the first slide I have is the introduction slide, and I would go through it. So this is our objective, and our objective is essentially to demystify the evolution of ITIL version 3, version 4, and ITIL version 5. Essentially, the reason why we want to go back is One, it refreshes our minds, especially for those that haven't really, maybe probably you haven't really gone into version 4, and then you, because that's where the big shift is actually, moving from version 3 to version 4 is actually a huge jump there. But then from version 4 to version 5, quite similar, like I mentioned earlier on, and then we get to see some of those changes there. And then we'll try to see how we map ITIL 5 capabilities directly to ISO 20000. So we'll get to see ITIL is a framework, all right, of best practices. And then ISO 20000 is more of thou shall, you must do, is a standard, all right? And then the third objective is for us to just see the 6-step roadmap for adoption and audit readiness as far as ISO 20000 is concerned. All right, so we go on to the next slide here. So if we look at it very well, the current landscape that we have is changing very, very fast. And as we know it, IT is no longer the same. We're just talking about, I see some people talk about the environment today, and they label it as a complex, in some cases it's become fast-paced. Leadership are demanding, the infusion of AI into virtually everything. And talking about AI, this is me getting ahead of myself now. A lot of organizations, the big corporations actually, dive into AI at the initial stage of it. And I read a report. I don't know how far that's true. Maybe someone can actually fact check me or correct me here. They said quite a number of them fired, employees and replace them with AI. And then they are beginning to reverse that. Maybe probably it's not to say that AI does not have its own capability, or maybe probably they just went into it too aggressively and they are now realizing that, okay, you know what, there is a way we can, we need to actually adjust this and appropriately position ourselves. You can't remove the involvement or the requirement of a human agent entirely. You can't replace that. All right. So there is today in our environment, we see the complexity in terms of complexity, in terms of the gap, in terms of the hybrid environment that we run. Organization manage hybrid infrastructure spanning on premises, cloud platforms, containers, and third-party services, increasing operational complexity. IT environment today, technology environment is more complex than it used to be from way back. Even if you go back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago, and all of that, infusing all manner of, we talked about AI. Before AI, there were so many technology that actually prepared the ground for what we are today. And then there is also the speed trap, or the speed trap challenge. Frequent deployments lack traceability without governance, causing difficulties in incident reconstruction and audit evidence. The main challenges, and I know people in service management can even confirm that, even IT generally, the main challenges today is how do you balance, speed of the demand being made, speed to market and all of that being made by your organization, by the business, to ensuring that things are properly done, ensuring that the proper controls are in place, ensuring that, deployments are safe, deployment are secure, deployment are, they actually deliver the value, they are well tested, so these are all some of the things that are coming up. So fast deployment without audit will lead to regulatory failure and compliance gaps. And then also the third thing that we're looking at is that what's the solution? All right, what's the solution to this? And which is why we are having this course, right? We're having this webinar to discuss this. And what also is the role of service management in all of this? Service management framework like IT version 5 embed controls enabling fast, safe delivery while maintaining reliable evidence for compliance. So yeah, so there are so many, there are many framework out there. However, ITIL kind of like provides a kind of a solid ground, and because of its popularity, it's easier to get someone that you can ask who's used the process before and so on. All right, so we go on to the next page. Next slide. Now we want to see the evolution of ITIL, ITIL, and then if you look at version 3, ITIL version 3, we don't want to go back all the way back to version 2 or whatever, those are ancestor kind of things, let's just start with the more recent one, which is fairly recent one, which is in the 2000s. ITIL version 3, and then going to ITIL 4, and then ITIL version 5. ITIL version 3 is, as we all might allude to, is focused on structure stages, it's quite rigid as people would describe it, all right? And it goes from service strategy, talking about the life cycle, to service design, and then you go to service transition. Hopefully, I didn't miss anything there. From service transition, then you go to service operation, then you go to CSI, continuous service improvement. All right, and it's just like that. All right, and then ensuring clarity and accountability in IT, although that's part of the advantages that it kind of provides. There's a bit of clarity, in terms of, that once you start from here, you go there, and then you go there, and then you go there. It takes you all the way to operation. But then for the kind of business that we run in this modern day, is found to be lacking, all right, and especially due to its rigidity, all right. So operational control is one of the main focus there, and then and that was in 2011, right? Then we got to go into 2019. We had ITIL version 4, which is actually a big shift, like I said. ITIL version 4, actually, at the core of it is the service value system. All right. ITIL 4 shifted to practices instead of talking about processes. With ITIL version 3, we had 34, am I correct? No, 26 processes, change management, incident management. I'm just jumping all here and there. You had what else? What else? Which are those popular ones? Service request management, service continuity management process, all right, availability management, and so on and so forth. There were 26 of them. But then by the time we get to IT version 4, which at the heart of it, like I said, is the service value system, it increased to 34 practices. No, it's no longer called processes. They're no longer called processes. They're now referred to as practices. And also, the definition of service moved away from the means of creating value. It now, focus more on value co-creation, because it is believed that in order for value to be created, then all parties involved all parties must be involved. All right. So talking about the service provider, the service consumer, and anyone in between, including the partners and so on and so forth. All right. So so ITIL version 4 also introduced it foster collaboration, all right, and agility aligned with DevOps and Agile. So you see quite a bit of that. So it also introduced the guiding principles, all right, which one of those things I really love so much. And then you also get to see in IT version 4, you get to see the dimension of service management, all right. So and then of course, which incorporates part of the PESTO technique, all right, political, you assess the environment and which the business operates within. All right, so moving forward, so it's center. So long and short of it is IT version 4 focus. It's about the service value system, which actually shows the combination, the activities that are combined. Also, not to forget the service value chain. All right. activities that are combined together for an organization to deliver value. And then, of course, it focuses on value co-creation. Going forward to ITIL version 5, ITIL version 5, which is the big elephant in the room, it integrates governance which is also declared in ITIL version 4. And then what is different here is it talks about digital and service management. So it's no longer ITIL for service management. It is now ITIL for digital and digital product and service management. Digital product and service management. All right. So it marries both together. And also it incorporated AI into the mix, governance of AI. How do we take advantage of AI to deliver the service to the for business value? All right. So Activation 5 integrates governance, automation, and AI oversight, emphasizing transparency and ethical decision making. So evolution of ITIL, the progression from controlling work to enabling value and governing intelligent systems reflects ITIL's adaptation to modern IT. And so that's what this page is about. And you see, I just scratched the surface. I would encourage us to do much reading in that regard. Then I go on to the next page, which this talks about what are some of the strengths and constraints of ITIL version 3. I don't think I want to spend too much time here. ITIL version 3, it's more about, again, like I said, 26 linear processes forming structured backbone of service management. The strength is that exceptional predictability with clear roles definition. Everyone knows exactly who does what, more or less. And that's what, so it's not all gloom and doom with ITIL version 3. All right. There are advantages to it, and there are quite a number of organizations out there that still base their operations on ITIL version 3, and so be it. As long as it works for you, please go ahead. But then it might limit you as far as, unintentionally it creates silos, all right, with heavy hands off. How quickly can you respond to change, all right? That you might not get with ITIL version 3, often proving too rigid for modern CI/CD pipeline, talking about DevOps. Okay, hopefully we get into that shortly. Then when we go into the next one, which is ITIL version 4, I know I got ahead of myself, and I already spoke about some of this stuff. 34 practices and the 7 guiding principles. I love those guiding principles a lot. I don't know if anyone has gone through this. If you know any of those, let me know which of the guiding principles you like. Just put that in the chat as well. That's really that will really help. It mimics the Agile Manifesto. However, this has been adapted for ITIL. It talks about start where you are. Focus on value is the first one on the list. Focus on value, start where you are. Talks about collaboration and also feedback, progress iteratively, and so on and so forth. All right. So ITIL version 4, it focuses on collaboration, lean, and starting where you are, and also encouraging automation. All right. The outcome is it moved focus from input or an output to outcome. Well, exactly. So input and output, if output is not the finished product, it's not what gives the value. It's an input into what will give us the value, which gives the outcome. All right. Outcome is what the customer, the client, all right, the end user is looking to have. All right. So going on from there, we go on to the next one, which is now ITIL version 5. This is which again, it only just came out this year, so we're barely weeks into it. All right. It talks more about digital product orientation, unified product teams, end to end, and one second. Yeah, ITIL version 5 shifts from service ownership to product orientation with cross-functional teams managing full digital product life cycle. It talks about AI governance. AI governance addresses bias, explainability, and control for automated decisions, ensuring transparency, all right, and accountability. I do have to say that AI is, I mean, the conversation will never end, really, and is understandable. Okay, so even in the organization that I work for in Canada, by the way, I didn't mention that I'm actually based in Canada, Ontario, and targets are being set, objectives are being set to include AI, and I actually think that there is a lot of ignorance, especially with the top management folks there, the leadership, the senior leadership, because everyone wants to dive into it until they realize that okay, it's worth it. I'm not knocking it in any way. However, there's still a lot of trepidation out there. So I think there is a need to be smart about how it is applied. There should be some level of common sense that should be applied to it. If you apply AI to what do you call it, to cybersecurity, all right, to stop attacks, that's so fantastic, rather than it's rather senior leadership are looking at it from strictly from the perspective of cost management, all right, or how is it going to help us to reduce costs, and they see it as an opportunity to lay off a lot of employees. I think that there should be a smart way to adopt AI. It's a fantastic tool. Then observability as governance, real-time telemetry, logs and metrics provide evidence for faster incident response and performance audit in IT version 5. So IT version 5, it goes beyond just event management that you had in the previous version. Observability is more of, using the capability of the system to look inward and giving you smart steps to correcting them. In some cases, they're like some tools like Dynatrace, for instance, Splunk and Datadog and so on, they are beginning to incorporate AI into their tools such that they have predictive capabilities, predictive and predictive analytics to and also to respond to incidents as quickly as possible. So how much can we stop? How much can we detect before a system completely breaks down? And also self-healing within the system itself. And then also auditability by design. Auditability integrated into normal workflow reduces overhead, builds trust, and improve digital operations efficiency. So these are some of the things that IT version 5 is advocating, all right, and has also presented it out there. All right, we'll move on quickly to the next one. For the next one, we are looking at the ISO 20000 overview. Not to forget that we are trying to see the alignment between IT version 5 and ISO 20000. And then we just did a very quick overview of the ITIL side. Now, looking at ISO 20000, ISO 20000 is a globally recognized standard with mandatory IT service management requirement for certification. So people get certified, organization gets certified to ISO 20000, and it's for service management. Is the only globally recognized auditable standard for IT service management. And core standard requirement, the standard focuses on leadership, risk-based planning, policy, direction, and evidence-based decisions in IT service management. If you have ever gone through or been certified to ISO 20000, you realize that there is a lot of documents that have to be produced, especially going through the old way of doing things. Auditors want to, you get auditors coming, you do internal audit, and then after your internal audit, auditors done their job to assess you ready for ISO 20000 certification. External auditors coming, and they certify you before to see that you are ready. And if you pass the audit, that then you get certified, you get your certificate. All right. It focuses again, it focuses on, it requires a formal service management system. All right. And it's some of the things on the right hand here, the focus of ISO 20000 service management system, leadership commitment, continuous service improvement. All right, we go on quickly to the next one. And if we want to do a high level mapping of ITIL version 5 to ISO 20000, we can match them clause to clause. All right. And again, for those that are not familiar with the ISO 20000, it's referred to as, it contains clauses which you must abide to. The shall clauses. All right. An organization shall do this, an organization shall do that. So governance and leadership within ISO 20000, that the clause that it's under the clause 5 of the ISO 20000 certification. And change enablement is under ISO clause 8.5.1. And then measurement and reporting, all right, is under clause 9, and continual improvement is under clause 10. These are things that you must do and demonstrate that you are doing, your organization is doing, before you can be granted the certificate. All right, before your organization can be considered to be certified. All right, and then this is practice level mapping and evidence example. So, like I said, auditors are involved in ISO 20000. And when auditors come around, sometimes they do it the old school way. They want to see the hard evidence. They want to actually have the document in hand. Although they might also, especially since COVID, we never realized that audit could be done remotely until COVID hit, and then everyone was locked down, and then they had to find a way to do their job. And then so they were able to also how do I put it now? Compromise a little bit to collecting some of these documents electronically. All right. So IT version 5 practice, change enablement, which is a practice there. Under ISO 20000 clause, you have change control and release, and the automated approval. Evidence that you would see there will be that the auditors would ask for will be things like automated approvals, deployment logs, change ticket. For incident management, it's under service operation and continuity within the ISO 20000 clause. And then some of the evidences include incident record, RCA report, communication logs, and communication logs. And then, of course, for service configuration management, within ISO 20000 clause, you have it as configuration and asset control, CMDB records, baseline, and change record. So within ITIL version 5, ITIL version 5 actually enables a lot of these evidences to be made available. All right. And hopefully we get there shortly. So key insight here is the mapping demonstrate how ITIL version 5 practices provide operational framework to satisfy specific ISO 20000 audit requirement through concrete evidence artifacts. So, and I think I already mentioned that earlier on. So, if we see practical roadmap to alignment, how do we do this alignment? So, of course, we assess, we prioritize, we design, we automate, we measure, we certify. All right, and we conduct we conduct a gap analysis to evaluate practices against ISO 20000, ISO standard, establishing a baseline and priority. All right, so gap analysis is is essential. In fact, it's part of the process that we have to go through to see, or an organization has to go through to see where they are and then where they want to be, and see the difference between the two. All right, and that's how you conduct a gap analysis. Then you are able to do this mapping between the ISO 20000 processes to, and all the clauses, the shall clauses, to what is obtainable within ITIL version 5. And then when you match them, then it's easier to then start seeing what are some of the requirements, how they can be fulfilled using using ITIL version 5. So of course we prioritize, again, select one digital value stream to pilot, define rules and automate evidence capture. That's under design. Under automate, we integrate ITSM tools with CI/CD pipelines and monitoring system to generate evidence during normal operation. So the evidence is now inbuilt within the system, and someone might say, "Oh, but that's what is obtainable today." Yeah, but within ITIL version 5, with CI/CD, continual integration, continual delivery, continual deployment and delivery, you get to have you have a lot of automation going on there. All right, using your GitHub, and so many other tools that are there within the DevOps space. I'm sure a lot of you already understand this aspect. So measurement and KPI is also very important. Establish KPIs like change success rate and mean time to restore, to monitor service and control effectiveness, this would be an evidence, or these are evidences to be presented to auditors. Then certification and audit. All right, internal audit check and then external assessment. All right, and I think I mentioned that earlier on. Now let's move on to the next one quickly. We're almost at the end of it. Now, the modern value stream pattern. Want to see how does the modern value stream pattern goes. You see, it flows between the plan, the build, the deploy, the operate, and the improve, which very much is similar to what we discussed with the previous page. So within the governance gate, before that, modern value stream enable continuous flow from planning to improvement, integrating all key stages seamlessly. So the automated gate, governance gate, automated with security scans, tests, and policy checks, reducing manual intervention and risk. So again, IT version 5, again, it focuses a lot on automation and ensuring that the value streams are properly mapped. All right, so which is where you see, and this is part of what flows through from IT version 4, value stream mapping. All right, where the different stages and different activities that need to be performed to achieve a particular service, a specific value, they're all mapped out and determined and predetermined, and such that it promotes consistency. So with value stream stages, automation can also becomes easier. So governance gates are automated with security scans. So like within the pipelines of CI/CD, you would see inbuilt testing like your SAST and your DAST. So static application testing, or static application security testing, which is the SAST, and also dynamic application security testing. Those are inbuilt such that everything just triggers and fires at the right time, and with evidence to show in the end, keeping logs and telemetries along the line. So telemetry and configuration management, monitoring telemetry feeds, incident management, telemetry feeds, incident management, while configuration data is captured automatically in CMDB as well. And then the evidence in the end, you would see deployment metadata stored automatically in the CMDB. Okay, and that's kind of like how this works if you want to actually map out things so that your IT version 5 can fulfill the requirement of ISO 20000. All right. So some of the case study, I mean, this is just a high level case study that we can just learn from. So the before your ITIL version 5, or your if you're still running ITIL version 3, you have manual change process. There is a long lead times, all right, and then fragmented evidence, frequent audit findings here and there, because the evidence is they're manually put together, but then within in an automated system, you have them fairly put together, all right, in a particular location. So, but then after, automated change pipelines, integrated incident triage, consolidated dashboards, ISO-ready evidence, and fewer findings is what you get in the end when ITIL version 5 is put in place to satisfy the requirement of ISO 20000. So sample metrics that you get there would be MTTR, mean time to restore, which is going to be reduced. Change success rate should be improved as well. Audit non-conformities are expected to also reduce, and we expect that with these, your ISO 20000 should be a breeze, relatively. Okay, and again, it's not to say that there's no cost involved. There is cost involved. I mean, the biggest of all of these would be to shift from what you currently are doing to what it is today. Now, the rest is just to show you the trade-off. Paper workload is reduced, and also there's discipline for auditability versus the speed. Sorry, I'm just going through the rest of it, which are some of the things that I already spoke about. And then this is a checklist that you can also walk by later on. My facilitator is giving me the sign that it's time to close it. So these are key takeaways, and I'm just ending it here. IT version 5 modernizes ITSM for digital operations and strengthens ISO 20000. ISO 20000 provides certifiable SMS that proves control. Yeah, so this is where we open it up for question and answer. If you have some.
Thank you very much. Thank
Sorry
you.
for
Thank
taking
you.
much time. Yeah, there's such a lot
Thank
to
you,
digest.
Olu. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that very
No
interesting
problem.
presentation. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. So without taking too much time, let's go straight to the Q&A. I have with me here who will join us, Dr. Orlando. Fortunately, he's also Olu, but Dr. Orlando works, and he will be championing the Q&A session, and of course, bring this beautiful webinar to a gracious close. So yes, throw in your questions as many as possible, and we'll have the two Olus, Olu, Mide, and Orlando would discuss extensively your questions. And if you have any more, please keep dropping in the questions. And if you have your thoughts, your opinions, your feedback, also very importantly, that you drop them as well. Thank you very much. Thank you once again, Mr. Olumide. Thank you,
Thank you.
for that beautiful presentation. We appreciate it. Dr. Lando, are you there with us?
All right, good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Miwa. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
All right, brilliant. So good day, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. It's my pleasure. Oli, thank you very much for the session you just had. Let me try to deal with some of the questions that are here in the chat room. It says, if an organization is starting afresh, would you recommend adopting ITIL first and then digging into ISO 20000, or designing both in parallel? Um, Mohammed, thank you very much for that question. I like that. So one is derived from the other. So ISO 20000, I would like to say is like that applies across uh all ISO standards. All ISO standards in themselves are derived from international best practice. So ISO 20000 in itself is derived from ITIL. Okay, so the bigger umbrella, the wider one, the bigger buckets in itself is ITIL. ISO 20000 is the smaller version, is the smaller bucket of it. So if I'm leading an organization, honestly, I will say to an organization, start with ITIL, and go for it and get it done as an organization, and then get certified, get the organization to certify to ISO 20000, because you can't be certified to ITIL. You cannot be certified to ITIL. But I mean, of course, so some people will beg to differ. Some people will say that, we'll start with the smaller version, start with ISO 20000, and then you can move on to ITIL later. I won't say as a rule of thumb that it should be one versus the other. I'll say in a certain situation, we're going to look at it and make a decision. But ordinarily, ITIL is broader and it is wider than ISO 20000, and it contains areas that ISO 20000 in itself does not even touch on at all. So, from that perspective, it definitely has an advantage if you start from ITIL. But I've also seen smaller organizations, smaller banks, community banks, and those types of organizations say that they will start with ISO 20000 and then move on to ITIL adoption later. It works either way. As it is, and I also get Olu's opinion in that regard. The other question that we have here, it says, "What new changes company has to make until ITIL 5, which is already ISO." Now, let me get this question: What to make with ITIL version 5, which is already in place, and ISO 20000 compliant. I'll show you two slides in a minute. I will show you ITIL version 5 kind of covers and what ISO being reworked. You can see that the latest version of it is the 2008. Most likely there'll be a new version of ISO 20000 that will come out next year. And then it will be better aligned to ITIL version 5. But remember what I said, all ISO standards in themselves are derived from existing international best practice and framework in itself. Okay. So if you heard my question, so if you give me 1 minute, let me see. I said I was going to show you two slides, so let me do that in a minute, and then we'll take all the questions, and I'll take Olu's opinion also relative to this thing. So if we do this, everybody, I hope you can see my screen. Let me start from here very quickly. All right. So yeah, okay. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the first takeaway. That this is the first thing I want everybody to take away from here. I think the biggest um the biggest disadvantage in terms of how ITIL has been practiced, adopted by the entire world is that most of us have looked at ITIL primarily, most organizations, and I know I've been doing ITIL. I mean, I'll check on one of the screens. I can't remember. I know I've been doing ITIL for a very long time. Honestly, I can't even remember. It must have been 2000 and I don't know, 6 or 2007 or something along those lines. Yeah, so you can see some of the certificates actually have 2006 in there. So of course I've been doing this maybe 2005 or 2004, something along those lines, that I've been doing this ITIL. And I think the biggest disservice is that most people think about it primarily from a training and certification perspective. But ITIL is meant to be adopted. It's not different from TOGAF. It's not different from COBIT. It's not different from adopting NIST CSF or any of those other international standards and framework. And that's a big deal. I think all of us should go away with the commitment to wanting to adopt ITIL in our organization. And when you've adopted ITIL, you can then 20,000. And once again, if you look at this slide that is on your screen, training is inclusive. One The adoption of one tool or platform or the other is also extremely the IT departments need to adopt ITIL. And I think that's the key takeaway. You, the CIO of an organization, head of service delivery, or whatever naming convention you use in your organization, you should go away with that. Number two, very quickly, if I do that, is this, right? So everybody, you can go away with this. So what I've tried to do is that I've tried to summarize the new ITIL version 5 book onto one page. And I know it's a bit it's a bit of an overkill, but I wanted to bring it all to a single page, right? And as I said, it's a bit of an overkill that is in here. When we get into the actual training, we can break it all down. But you can see that this is a big deal. If you look at some of those areas that are put in, that are made bold, the text that are made bold on the screen, you see that there's so many areas in here that ISO 20000 does not even touch on at all. So you can, and in ITIL version 5 is literally, it's primarily about digital product and service management. That's the key thing. So it's moved from just IT service management to digital product and service management. In system, if you look at the areas around governance and many other things, I don't want to have to rehash or re-say some of the things that Olu had said prior to now. But it's a big deal. It's a much bigger, much broader, much wider bucket. And in this version, they've also taken a lot of things around that artificial intelligence into keen consideration. If you allow me, so this is one of my old slides. Well, it's actually one of my not so old, around ISO 20000. Right. So if you look in here, you will see this is pretty much what ISO 20000 covers. I like to summarize everything onto a single page. So you will see things like capacity management, and you can see some of the tools that are put underneath it, and you can see all the many areas, the ones that I expect a client to automate and the ones that they might not necessarily automate. So you can see configuration management, you can see assets, you can see things like that, as it is. I mean, it's for 4 to 7, and then the core of it is around clause 8, and then clauses 9 and 10. So it's great, it's brilliant. I like to look at it as it's the minimum that any organization should put in place. While ideal is almost like you're going towards the other extreme end of it. So it's good for you. You can start either from ITIL into ISO 20000, or you can take it from ISO 20000 into ITIL. You can do it either way. But once again, would also take thoughts and opinion. And I know that many other experts on the call. So it would be nice to get the thoughts of everybody here. So what will be your recommendation for your own organization? Should it be ITIL, especially this new version 5 that we have here? This new version 5 into ISO 20000, or will you do ISO 20000 first and then ITIL second? I mean, once again, it's not cast in stone. We can't, nobody's going to arrest you if you say that it's one or the other. It will be nice to get the thoughts and the opinion of everybody. So please, all the experts that are in the room, drop your thoughts in the chat room as it is. Let me show you one more thing. No, well, two more things. So, I mean, once again, when we're working with clients, I mean, because I mean, I'm certain that in my lifetime, I probably worked with, I don't know, maybe 50 or 70 or more clients around IT service management in itself. And this is directly from ISO 20000, where we kind of work with the clients to ensure that they can draw a single thread across these 20 areas. So if we had time, one of the things we would have done is to say, each of you in your organization, what is your level? And this is directly from ISO 20000. Ignore the parts that are put in colors and all that. This is just coming from stuff that I was working with a certain client and things like that, and making things clear for the client as it is. But yeah, ISO 20000 is clean, it's clear, it's smaller, while ITIL is a much bigger bucket. But if I had time on this call, I would have said I would have worked through each of this, and then we would try to determine the maturity of your organization relative to each of these areas. Okay. But lastly, one more thing, and that will be the end, right? So I will take more questions. Let me show you one thing. Okay. Where is it now? Where is it? Okay, good. So, for example, if you can count this, you can look at the number of practices here, everybody, and you can take a screenshot here. That's why I said ITIL is like you're going to the extreme because it's the bigger bucket, while ISO 20,000 is like the smaller bucket. So, as an organization, you can either do, well, look at these 34 management practices inside of ITIL. In reality, it hasn't changed because this same 34 were in the ITIL version 4. It hasn't changed from version 4 to version 5. The same 34 were in version 4 and they're now also in version 5. And the areas in here that ISO 20,000 does not even touch at all. So, for example, ISO 20,000 does not say anything about business analysis. It doesn't really say anything about that. ISO 20,000 does not say anything about infrastructure and platform management. It doesn't say anything around that. ISO 20,000 does not differentiate the service desk from when you say things like events and incidents. No, it does not. ISO 20,000 definitely does not touch on software development and management. No, it does not.
Mhm.
ISO 20,000 does not touch on organizational change management,
Mhm.
which is different from change enablement. So once again, it doesn't. I was thinking that, well, in a sense, it probably talks about workforce and talent management because there's a portion in there that talks about competence. So, but you can see the differences as it is. The training program that we're putting together combines both ITIL and ISO 20,000. My colleague Miwa here will probably talk about it, but the training program that we're putting together over 5 Saturdays combines both ITIL version 5 and ISO 20,000. So it doesn't really matter whether you move from ITIL to ISO 20,000 or from ISO 20,000 to ITIL. I said one more thing, but I was lying, but this is it. This is the last one, right? So this new ITIL breaks this down. So everybody, you can look at this, right? So if I was coming into your organization or if I were you that you're on this call, I'll start to ask myself that my organization, how well am I doing with these two practices? And this is guidance from ITIL in itself because you can see here they've summarized it, and I like the way they've done it in this new version. So you can see they've talked about the purpose, they've talked about the processes within the practice in itself. They've talked about the what I'll call critical success factors, and of course the KPIs, where you have the key metrics inside of things, because they expect that you're not doing digital product and service management using using Microsoft. We'll have Ivanti, we'll have Fresh Service, we'll have Managed Engine Service to explore there in itself. And this is once again the beauty of ITIL because they have practices as it is. They've done that for 34 different practices. So on my screen, you can see architecture management, and you can also see availability management. On the next slide, you can see capacity and performance management. And that's one interesting thing that they've done here. They've tied performance to an extent to the capacity of the assets that you have. And they've also covered something in here called business analysis that a lot of us don't even think about when we're talking about IT service management, or in the new balance that we call digital product and service management in itself. Let me stop here. Otherwise, I can go on talking about this. I think ITIL version 5 is brilliant. I think any smart and sensible organization should make very decisive steps in terms of how do we adopt this ITIL version 5? How can it help our organization? And of course, when it comes to certification, you can either get certified to the existing ISO 20,000, or you can wait next year to get certified to the new version of ISO 20,000 that will come out around then. So yeah, thank you. Olu, so yeah, share your thoughts. Olu and
Yep.
others in the chat room. What do you think? Which one should an organization do first? Should it start
No,
with
no.
ITIL
I think you're
or should
spot
it
on there.
start
So
with
I
ISO
would suggest
20,000? Olu, go ahead and then we'll take all the questions and we'll bring this to you.
sure, sure, sure. So you are spot on there, and I agree with you 100%. I believe that organizations should start with ITIL. You see, when you go through the ISO 20000 certification, which I've had the opportunity to experience in my former organization, where I worked, is that you even they would require that you take some form of some kind of certification, all right? So an ITIL is the best one for you because you almost cannot get through the certification process without having a background knowledge of ITIL. And again, like you said, that ISO 20000 is actually derived out of ITIL. And you actually have another point is that you have a lot of people who have experience in ITIL. So it's the best, it's just the best way to go first. So that you can share knowledge, you can derive knowledge from other people who have experience, and you can use that to fulfill the requirement of ISO 20000. So ISO 20000 is about the standard. It's about how do you fulfill it for you to get certified, either for your organization. So if you do not have that background knowledge, which ITIL gives to you, it will be a struggle. So I would also suggest that you go with anyone should go with ITIL first. Okay, and I think someone asked a question if the material that we display as key resources will be shared. Not entirely, because some of these are proprietary and we are not allowed to share them, but you would get some of the materials. I'm sure Muiwa would make that available as long as you have your email. I will allow Muiwa to take care of that, but we can share the material that we presented, but the rest may be too proprietary for us to do. Okay.
All right, good. Thank you. Thank you very much once again, Olu. Yes, I mean, we will definitely share some material with you. We even have some initial training and certification, which is like introduction into ITIL version 5 and ISO 20000. And if you pass the assessment, you can get like a certificate that says that you've passed the introduction course because you attended this. So yeah, we'll definitely share some of the materials, but because this is not a paid training exercise, we're not allowed to share some other things. So you can see some of the things that I put on my screen. They pretty much have not to be distributed on them, but because we're an accredited training organization, we're accredited to do ITIL. We've been accredited to do ITIL for more than 15 years. So there's some of those things that we'll share with you. I like what Rados Veta said, yeah, you start with ITIL. ITIL is brother, it's the bigger bucket in itself. And Mohammed was asking in here, what are some of the challenges we face in understand all these things? I think that's like the big challenge as it is. I showed you one of the slides and I said that challenge for a lot of people. There are a lot of organizations, they don't really understand. It's almost like there's some kind of superficial understanding. And if you don't have a deep understanding, then the mapping is going to be very difficult, if almost near impossible in itself. So if you really get this, so for example, if you look in here, right, there, if I sit with you now, I can map the design of services. I can map it to architecture management. I can even map it to service design. But you must know that it must be the fact that you really know how to, you understand it from both perspectives. Do you understand? I'm talked about inside of ITIL and the context in which it's been described and talked about inside of ISO 20000. Some of them are easy and straightforward to map. So, for example, service catalog, right? I mean, there's not a lot. It's of ITIL. However, inside of ITIL, it will contain certain things that ISO 20,000 does not contain. So it might be service catalog in both instances, but the service catalog description inside of ITIL will be much more detailed, will be wider and broader than the way it will be talked about inside of ISO 20,000. You've got service level management inside of both of them. You've got asset management inside of both of them. You've got configuration management inside of both of them. So there's some areas that are easy and straightforward to map, but there's some other areas that might not be as easy and as straightforward to map. But yes, you can do the mapping, but it's not just also about the mapping, because you also have to then look at the tool or the platform. So on my screen, you can see the client has on-prem systems or they've got cloud systems, because that's the third leg of the mapping that you're not talking about. What are the assets that they have? What are the systems, the IT platforms that they have, where these things in themselves are actually being automated in itself? So yeah, I mean, to come back to you, yes, you can do the mapping. It's not that difficult. There's some areas that are straightforward. However, ISO contains much more than ISO 20,000 does contain. But yeah, you can do the mapping. I can stay to do the mapping for you, but I'm going to have to charge you if I'm going to do that for an extended period of time on this call. But yeah, you can definitely do the mapping. Okay, good. Any other questions, so that we don't take too much of your expensive time as it is? I don't know if there is any other thing, Mr. Muir, so that we can bring this to a close.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much,
Good. Is
Dr.
there
Orlando.
any other
Thank you very
question?
much.
Any other thought?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you, Olumide.
Thank you.
And thank you very much,
Yeah.
distinguished ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Think we've
It's a
answered all the
pleasure.
questions.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you all here, and I hope that you're already been able to learn one or two things from this very short yet intensive webinar. I implore you all, if you're further interested in understanding the nitty-gritty of ITIL version 5, and also in alignment and how we are going to position it from the implementation and the audit point of view with the ISO 20,000. We have a bundled program that will be coming up in the month of April or in the month of May over a 4-Saturday period, which will be tying ITIL, ISO 20,000, and the automation using ServiceNow. So I will be sharing that information with you in the coming weeks. And of course, special discounts will be available for each and every one of you here that have attended this webinar. Also, we'll be sharing an assessment which, like Dr. Orlando mentioned, which you'll be required to take to get some level of certificate of attendance, and also can count for you as a professional development unit for your PD growth as a person. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to all the participants. Thank you once again to moderators, our facilitators. Thank you very much. And we look forward to okay, I thought there was a question. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we look forward to having you in our future webinars in the coming months and the coming years. Thank you very much, and do have a great day. Please follow our LinkedIn page, our Instagram, and our YouTube is right there on the chat box. So please follow us on our LinkedIn, our Instagram, our YouTube, and of course, so that you can keep abreast with all that the latest happening regarding technology and compliance in this ever-evolving technology world that we're in. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a pleasure to be hosting this particular webinar, and wishing you all a great morning, afternoon, and evening. Thank you very much, and do have a great day.